My name is Michael Wood. I'm a partner at EY and I lead our sustainability consulting practice across the MENA region. I have a science and engineering background and focus on helping private and public enterprises on a range of issues including decarbonising, selecting new technologies and obviously in mobility as well. Now before we get into the conversation, we've got some awesome panellists today. I'm very excited to hear their stories. I just wanted to set the scene. Now this is going to be very high level, but I think some of these stats are mind-blowing. And I have to call out to my team here locally in Qatar for doing this analysis. Now the challenge, this is really just setting the abatement challenge for us. Now transport emissions contribute to roughly 15% of global emissions, so that's a substantial amount, with light and heavy vehicle transportation representing the most material contributors to that emissions profile. Now, when we look forward, you can see the white dotted line. That's the current policies that we have in effect today. Now, that does have an inflection where there is a stabilisation of emissions and there is a reduction in time. But there is a delta. And that delta is between the net zero commitments made under the Paris Agreement, but also a pathway to net zero. And that, for us, is the abatement challenge. So what does that mean in practical terms? If we are to close that delta between a current policy and a net zero future, these numbers are mind-boggling, by the way. In 2060, that's a 1.4 billion reduction in current vehicles, light vehicles. That's 35 million semi-trailers that need to be abated or removed. That's 9.5 billion nautical miles of container shipping, and 14,000 long-range wide-body aircraft need to be removed from the transport system. So that's the challenge, that's the abatement challenge, and that's why we're here today, to close that gap. In terms of land transportation emissions, we know that it's critical, but for this to be true, there needs to be the decoupling effect between emissions and growth. We know that sustainability, we know that transport growth is going to increase as population grows as well. And secondly, there's a need for that electrification to occur, energy efficiency as well, and that coupling with low emissions fuels as well. And this can only be achieved through disruptive policy, new technology and new innovations as well. And so why this is important? Road transport is critical for the sector to decarbonise. We have to get it right. So the opportunities through forums like these to collaborate, innovate and share ideas. So yeah, that's the main story. We've got a big challenge on our hands, but we can do it. So I'm going to start with the panellists now, and I'm going to make my way over slowly. And we'll just start with the first general question for the group, just around, and we'll get you to introduce yourselves as well, and we'll spend a couple of minutes on this. Just introduce yourself and what sustainability mobility means to me. And I might start with you, and ask, given that you're closest to myself.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Mike, for this introduction. I'm Mohammed from Ministry of Transport. I was the project manager for Transportation Master Plan for Qatar. I think you heard about Transportation Master Plan TMBQ 2050, which was launched in 2022. Actually, the sustainability was the main pillar of developing this strategy. And all the plans behind, included in this master plan, it was based on sustainable, not only environmental, also taking into consideration the human and the financial sustainability. For example, we are talking about financial sustainability in terms of increasing the productivity, reducing the, making sure that we are getting the maximum benefits of the investment of Qatar in the transportation sector. Talking about not only about infrastructure, talking about all the aspects of legislation and laws. In terms of environmental sustainability, we make sure that we are going into direction of zero emission. Through my colleagues in the public transport affairs, they talked about the electrification strategy and autonomous vehicle strategy, which is moving toward that vision. So in terms of the human development, our targets also to reduce the traffic fatalities and enhancing the safety and ensuring that we are providing as a transport sector the most efficient service. So in terms of plans, we have focusing on how we can optimize and make sure that we have efficient transportation network. So we start from existing assets and how we can maximize the benefits of these assets. The second plan or second strategy is about introducing travel demand management strategies, which we already experienced that during the World Cup 2022, and we hope that we, based on this experience, we develop the legacy for the future by making these policies in long-term. We're talking about the accessibility. I think we noticed one of the questions in the previous session about how we access the metro and how we access the public transportation. We made a huge basis in terms of public transportation. Currently, we are updating the bicycle master plan. And not only the bicycle, we are talking about in developing the bicycle network and pedestrian network and emerging technologies such as the e-scooters. Not to stop the development into which happened before and continue this journey until we reach the ultimate vision. We have also, we'll start soon, a new project for strategy for mitigating land transport impact on health and environment, which would have a huge impact on sustainability and improving the sustainability of transportation system. Last year, end of last year, we also launched the Qatar Freight Master Plan, talking about logistics. And yesterday we saw the e-truck, and we are moving to that with coordination with the Ministry of Commerce into implementing this strategy.
Excellent, plenty happening. Mohammed, would you like to share your journey and just about from the context of your role, how sustainability mobility impacts yourself, and a general introduction to yourself?
Yes, assalamu alaikum. Hi everyone. My name is Mohammed al-Badr. I'm the section head of Sustainable Cleaner Practices section at the Climate Change Department at the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change. I've been at the ministry for around 10 years now. In general, the ministry, the department is fairly new. It was established in 2012. The same year, Qatar hosted COP18 of the United Nations Framework Convention for Climate Change, which was a major milestone towards establishing the Paris Agreement and extending the Kyoto Protocol to cover the pre-2020 period. So in that light, the department was established to set and work on national strategies and national policies related to climate change and the emissions and industrial emissions and things like that. So in 2021, the ministry launched the Qatar National Environment and Climate Change Strategy, as well as the National Climate Change Action Plan. And we also submitted what we call the nationally determined contributions, which were mentioned earlier. We submitted our Qatar's version of the NDCs in 2021, which included a commitment to lower carbon emissions by 25% by 2030 from business as usual. And in getting that commitment, we engaged with the national stakeholders. We engaged with everyone to see what they could do to help us, or what they are already doing. Because what we found out is that a lot of a lot of agencies, a lot of ministries, a lot of the private sector has already been working towards lowering their emissions just on their own as part of their responsibility towards the and as part of their sustainability plans. So for electrification and electric vehicles, what we were able to gather is that there were already existing plans to electrify the taxis by Muwasalat. There was already plans to electrify school buses. There was already plans to electrify the public transportation sector. And currently we are working, what was important to us is gathering the data. So bringing everything into under one umbrella, and under that we are working very hard towards establishing something we would call the measurement, review, and verification system, which is an online system that would measure, review, and verify the emission reductions that are happening here in Qatar from different projects. And part of that would allow us to calculate how much emissions we are saving from these projects. So for example, I can tell you that there's a potential of lowering 0.5 metric tons per annum by 2030 if Qatar electrifies the public transportation system, like buses and the metro and things like that. So, and we also, not just that, we don't only work locally, but we work internationally also to highlight some of the efforts that Qatar does in combating climate change. Every year at the COP, we host a pavilion, and we host a day dedicated to transportation. And we bring in experts from national experts and international experts to have a discussion under the umbrella of the COP, so they can guide us towards more relevant decisions. Thank you.
Excellent. A lot of activity there happening from the ministry, which is great. I'll pass over to Professor Mazuir Shah to introduce himself and provide some context around sustainability.
Thank you very much. I'm going to have a short introduction. My name is Mazuir Shah. I'm from the College of Engineering and Technology, University of Doha for Science and Technology. So what we're doing at UDST basically is to establish a sustainable mobility center. So what does it mean? That we try to focus to establish a efficient propulsion system, battery storage, and other technology that can meet the, net zero agenda in the future. So for instance, now currently we are developing a last mile vehicle to meet the demand in the market, particularly, as well as focusing on the marine sector. So we are collaborating with few stakeholders in Doha, in Qatar, and hopefully, this is going to be a very successful collaboration in the future.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I will pass over to Dr. Janina Gauder.
Yeah, hello. My name is Janina Gauder. I'm the climate attaché and press attaché at the German embassy in Doha. For Germany, climate policy became a foreign policy priority. We developed a strategy on climate foreign policy and also made over 50 missions abroad to climate focal point missions. Doha is one of them, and that's why I'm sitting here. It is very important for us in combating climate change to work together with important partners as Qatar is. Qatar is so open to innovation, and we really would like to work closer together with Qatar to tackle climate change together and also to learn from Qatar. especially in terms of openness to innovation. My personal view is that the Germans sometimes are maybe a bit hesitant when it comes to innovation. So and my posting here just started. I'm the first climate attaché in Doha, and I'm excited to be here and work together with Qatar.
And I do apologise, I mispronounced your last name after confirming what your last name was just before the session. So Gauder rather than Gauder. Apologies. Mr. Mezghani, over to you to introduce yourself and talk through sustainable mobility.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Mohammed Mezghani. I am the Secretary General of UITP. This is the International Association of Public Transport, representing public transport operators, authorities, supplying industry, consultants, academics, and so on. So the whole public transport ecosystem. So the question is about our approach to sustainability. And I think it's important that we go back to basics, because sustainability is not just about the environment. Sustainability has three pillars: environment, society, and economy. And so I regret that now we focus too much on the environmental pillar and we forget the other two pillars. We focus on decarbonization, on climate change, and when we think decarbonization, climate change, we tend to focus on the environment only. But actually, it's important that everything we do, if it's about electrification, automation, mobility policies, etc., it's important that we assess it from the perspective of the society and the economy. Means, is it, if we introduce new vehicles, electric vehicles, autonomous vehicles, is it good for social inclusion or not? Will it improve the accessibility of everyone and not just those who can afford an autonomous or electric vehicles? Will it come with benefits in terms of accessibility, of road safety, for the economy, to generate more economical revenues? We see, for example, that those cities which are the more touristic cities, the most touristic cities in the world, they have very good public transport system. They don't rely, and it's thanks to that public transport system that will make the city more attractive also for tourists. So they don't rely on private cars to attract tourists. They rely on offering, an alternative to the private cars. So that's important. It's really. I heard in the previous panel a speaker saying, I want in 20 years to have my own autonomous car. I mean, if everyone will have its own autonomous car, it will not solve the congestion issue. It will not solve the accessibility issue, because imagine these cars will be running empty. If they are autonomous, they can run empty in the street. So it will create even more traffic. So I don't think this is sustainability. Sustainability is when everyone has the same access to the services, to the mobility, to the economy, to the social services, etc., but not creating a society where those who can afford autonomous car will have the priority on the other ones. Thank you.
Terrific, some fair points. I'll stay with you, Mr. Mezghani. Just around what are the key trends and innovations that you see in urban transport that really improve sustainability?
Thank you. I think when we now consider the implementation of sustainability, as I said, there are also here also we need to go back to basics. There is the approach of avoid, shift, improve. So first, we need to avoid as much as possible to create more mobility, not by banning, of course, movements, but by redesigning the city in a way that people will feel less the need to move, or if they move on shorter distances. So by mixing activities, cities which have commercial areas which are separated from employment places, which are separated from schools and university, which are separated from offices, etc., will create much more movement than cities which will integrate these activities together in the same areas. And we know now there is the concept of 15-minute city, for example, which is an important concept, is how to make sure that people will, at the end, don't need to move on long distances. So this is working from home is also a way to avoid moving every day to the office with the condition that we don't create other movements. So this is the pillar, avoid. And then we have the shift, means that if you are going to move anyway, it's important that we shift from those modes which are creating the nuisances to modes which are more environmentally friendly and more socially inclusive and more benefiting to the economy. It means from shifting from cars to walking, cycling, shared mobility, public transport, and so on. And this is very important because if we want to reduce congestion in our city, if we want to reduce accidents, if we want to make the city more accessible, we need to do that. So this is the second pillar, which is about shifting. And then the third pillar is about improving. It means that, okay, if there are no other alternatives, it's important that if we use a car, that this car is zero emission, that this car is safer, this car is more comfortable, etc., etc. So avoid, shift, improve. This is how we can implement and improve sustainability. And of course, there are many examples. And here in Qatar, I mean, the development of the metro, of the tramway system, the modernization of the bus system, the ride sharing, which is around metro stations, etc. Everything that was presented by the previous speaker from Qatar Rail, I think, and also from Muwasalat, is very important to make, at the end, the mobility system more sustainable.
Sure, thank you. Dr. Gauder, sorry. My apologies again. What are some policy enablers for a country to consider in the context of making an impact on sustainability, particularly from a climate perspective?
Thank you for this good question. So I would like to point out 4 general things ahead of the concrete answer. First, the transport sector is the fastest growing emitting sector worldwide, and it contributes greatly to air pollution, noise pollution. This causes diseases, loss of biodiversity. It means raw material consumption and waste generation. So it's much more about producing emissions. Second, we need a transformation of mobility and transportation. As the previous speaker already said, we need measures and mindsets that avoid traffic or avoid purchase a car at all. We need better designed cities, shorter ways, more public transport, walking, cycling spaces. And then, of course, e-mobility is also a huge part of the transformation. Third, to be truly transformational, electrification has to go hand in hand with energy transition. And scaling up renewables. So it doesn't help when we use coal to generate power for an e-vehicle. And fourth, the IPCC said that there is a rapidly closing time window for actions to secure a livable future. So we are running a bit out of time. And all policy enablers in the context of climate change that ideally promote e-mobility, they have to consider these previously mentioned points. And policy enablers are, of course, crucial because no company, no government, no industry will be able to master this transition alone. We have to work hand in hand. As for the policy enablers, so the job of governments is, of course, to create conducive framework and conditions for business decisions and investments in this regard, and to provide the environment also for the pace we need. And governments also have to lead financial flows in a greener and more sustainable directions. So we definitely have to create an environment where it's a strong business case to be at the forefront of this green transition. Regarding the policy enablers, so of course we need fiscal policies like providing tax incentives, subsidies, and so we need regulatory measures so we could create low emission zones where only low emission vehicles can enter. We need infrastructure investments. This is, for instance, an issue in Germany that we don't have enough charging stations. We need energy and raw material partnerships. The governments have to do or have to develop within their bilateral work. We need to promote research and development, of course, and this has to be supported by the governments. And these are, at least I think, the most important policy enablers. There are very good examples. For instance, Norway, they have the highest rates of e-vehicles because they give really very generous incentives. There's free parking for e-vehicles and much more. So it's not a surprise that they have the highest rate.
Excellent, thank you. And Mohammed, I'll go to you next. Just localising it for Qatar, can you provide an overview of the Ministry's and Ministry of Environment and Climate Change focus areas as it relates to sustainable transport?
Yeah, sure. The Ministry is, from our perspective, we focus on the CO2 and the emission side of things. But most importantly, we are trying to build awareness and do public campaigns as much as possible in collaboration with our national partners to highlight the benefits of moving towards a more sustainable future, towards avoiding emissions, towards getting more efficient cars, more efficient electrical appliances, things like that. So we can, because we are still in the, it's still a new concept in Qatar. So when you go to Europe, you go to to Japan, Korea, you see that they already have the infrastructure in place. They already have the tax incentives. The people are aware. Everyone is united in their efforts to combat climate change. So we aim to build the same thing. So we target young audiences, students, things like that. So we are able to more effectively change their behavior into a more greener future. Another thing is that, as many before me have mentioned, the public transportation, the electrification, the unification of the grid. So we are participant in all. The ministry was a participant in all of those strategies and projects, and the ministry our door is always open if anyone is working on a project and would like some opinions from the environmental sides, because we aim to highlight that Qatar national circumstances are not necessarily that of other countries. So we have special things to consider as a country. As my colleague said, economic diversification is just as important as the environmental pillar of sustainability.
Excellent, thank you very much. Now, Anas, now focusing it for the Ministry of Transport, what sustainable transport initiatives is the Ministry focusing on?
I would start from Dr. Mohammed's statement about how to change the behavior and how to plan the cities for reducing the demand. Actually, this is what I pointed out for travel demand management, where we can, it's not enough to put all the attractive public transport. Travel behavior is a challenge to change the people from their current habits. That's why we get into the people, we ask them, and we get some questionnaires to get their feedback and what they want. In that sense, also, we consider the top hierarchy of the country vision and strategic vision from Qatar National Vision 2030 goes into the Qatar National Master Plan, which define the land uses. And that's where we start with our planning for the mobility, where it goes hand with hand with the land use planning to ensure that provide sustainable mobility. In terms of initiatives. I think my colleague from Qatar Rail, Raymond, also shed the light on the public transport initiatives, and our focus actually to expand the public transport service because it's one of the most sustainable transportation mode. Also in parallel, we are enhancing the first and last mile through enhancing the service for bicycle and active mode in general, which the free zero or mobility mode. You will see in Qatar here many highway projects because they are not sustainable also to run empty buses or empty rail. So we consider also the land use planning, we consider also the people need, and we try to fill the network where we have still some gaps to maximize the benefit of some expressway. We enhance the connectivity through the system. Actually, we have already issued 4 projects to enhance corridors where consider all type of users, roads, public transport, and active modes. Talking about electrification, which Mr. Samer also talked about in the previous session, our ministry vision is not only about electrification, also about the source of energy. Having renewable energy, as you know that in 2021 already Minister of Transport completed a bus terminal in Lusail, which has a 11,000 solar panel and it produces almost 4 megawatt of energy. And that's the way we are looking at the Ministry of Transport, how we can move forward to the vision. In terms of traffic management, with improving the efficiency of existing infrastructure, their intelligent transportation system strategy has been launched in 2014. Ashghal, our partner, also trying to implement this strategy. They made a lot of steps into improving the efficiency of the transportation network, not only to react to the congestion which happens, also to be productive, to try to ensure by collaborating with the QMIC to get and understand how people move, when they move, to flatten the big volumes and big demand on all type of transportation services. In terms of demand reduction, we put some studies and some legislation. We are in process with Ashghal and Qatar Rail to implement these policies to give more incentives to the people to shift to sustainable modes, especially if talking about public transport and short trips using active modes.
Excellent, thank you. We'll move to Professor Shah. So when we think about that abatement challenge that I presented earlier, what are the key technical challenges across the different transport types?
Okay, thank you for the question. It's very interesting. There's so many technical challenges, I would say. But I want to focus on 5 factors that might hinder the growth of this EV market, right? To transition from fossil fuel to e-propulsion. So firstly, as you might be aware, range anxiety is the most important factors that we need to consider, and mainly this is due to the, I would say, energy storage technology. So currently, as we know, the energy storage capacity can be ranging from 200 to 300 watt-hour per kilogram. In order to match with the fossil fuel propulsion, this has to be increased at least 500 watt-hour per kilogram. This is very, very challenging. And one of the solutions probably is to use a solid-state battery. But how soon we can use this solid-state battery, that's a big question mark. There's a lot of the research been going on now. And second technical issues will be the charging time. Yeah. As you know, if you want to refuel fossil fuel vehicle, the most time you need is about 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That will take you probably about 300, 400 kilometer range easily, right? But for EV, again, it depends on the battery size and also the chemistry. It can take between 10 hours, maybe, down to 5 minutes, depending on the technology. For instance, I'll give you one example. Level 1, you can use 1 to 2 kilowatt hour charging power. Takes about 10 hours for fully charged. Level 2 between 3 to 22 kilowatt hour. There's 3 to 22 kilowatt. So you can use either home or public charging. That will take between 2 to 13 hours. And level 3 can be between 30 to 360 kilowatt. This is a fast charging. This is fast charging. This is very good because you can reduce the charging time from 15 to 1.5 hours. The only concern with the fast charging, it will promote the battery degradation, right, over time. If we keep, fast charging the battery, and it end up that we have to replace the battery. Instead of having the battery for 10 years, it can be reduced to like 5 years. Again, the sustainability would be a question mark there. And then the third one would be the availability of public charging infrastructure, mainly in rural area. Then how, the other question I want to highlight is that if we transition everything into EVs, where the energy would be coming from? That's a issue that we need to consider, because if the energy is coming from fossil fuel, and it will back to square one. Right? So the study we have done, for instance, any EV being charged using coal produce more CO2 compared to fossil fuel diesel car. This is a big challenge, right? And the fourth one would be the vehicle price. As you know, EV is very expensive. Right. The reason for this is because the battery price is about $130 US per kilowatt hour. So another study shows that in order for us to match with the fossil fuel vehicle, this has to be reduced to at least $60 US per kilowatt hour. But in order for us to achieve this energy price for the battery, then we have to increase the demand of EV. But to increase the demand, we have to reduce the battery price. It's a catch-22, right? So this is another challenges that we need to think about. And finally, I would say the thermal management of the battery. So that's another aspect that we have to study. The reason because for battery, it works in a very narrow window between 20 to 40 degrees Celsius. Yeah, 20 to 40 degrees Celsius. So in extreme temperature, for instance, more than 40 degrees Celsius, then we have to use active cooling. Active cooling, meaning to say that you have to consume energy from the battery. So what happens if the battery operates above than 40, then you promote the cell degradation. Then in this case, then you also have to replace the battery within a short period of time. I think that's the technical challenges that we have to focus in order for us to transition from fossil fuel propulsion to e-propulsion.
Okay, sure. For the next questions, I have a few more for the panelists. So we'll do these rapid fire if we can, because I'd love to crack it open to the floor for some questions as well. I'll stick with you, Dr. Shah. So how can automation in the context of sustainability help? And is there a synergy there between the two?
Yeah. Okay, this is my personal opinion. If we increase the level of vehicle autonomy, the energy demand can improve the energy management of the vehicle. Then in this case, it can improve the range and require less charging frequency, right? So in this case, then the battery can be extended in terms of the life. Then it can improve the sustainability aspect of the vehicle and the supply chain, right? So let's say if you want to recycle the battery, right? It's very, very complex, process where it will produce more CO2 compared to produce a new battery. So in this case, then we have to be a bit consider if you want to recycle the battery. So my suggestion is that try to increase the level of autonomy so that we can have a better and efficient energy management of the system. But this is only possible if we can have a cooperative to cooperative agent for the autonomy. Vehicle autonomy. The challenge is that now, if we have cooperative to non-cooperative agent of vehicle autonomy, this is very challenging to be adapted. Yeah.
Okay. We'll move back to Anas here. And we're just going to focus on what areas of an intelligent transport system is the Ministry of Transport focusing on?
I think I will steal some of the notes my colleagues Veronica talked about the automation and integration of ticketing system for public transport, and we hope also the shared mobility to be integrated on the same platform. About the ITS, which we talked about earlier, actually the Minister of Transport now updating the strategy in terms of considering the latest advancement in the technology and also the use of the big data, updating this strategy, make benefit of this technology advancement to improve the efficiency of our transportation system. And actually, Ashghal, they have already launched the Road Management Center that can help on that. And we as a Minister of Transport, as supervising ministry, we are putting plans and projects where we can utilize the new technologies for managing the network. In terms of data analysis and prediction, also as a planning section, because I'm planning department, we try to use the big data in understanding the travel behavior and how we can change this behavior. We have Qatar Strategic Transportation Model. And now, in the last 2 years, we moved to a new term or new type of models that can enhance this capability of predicting the travel behavior and what's the effect, estimate the effect and the impacts of any policy in terms of changing the travel behavior, which is very important to understand before making the decision and ensuring that we maximize the benefit of our changes or projects.
Excellent. Dr. Gauder, so how do you improve international collaboration in such a complex issue such as climate? Yeah, go for you.
So international collaboration is of course very important in the context of climate change because it's neither a future problem nor a local one. So we need collaboration across all borders. We can work with bilateral partnerships such as energy, raw material, climate partnerships with certain countries. I already mentioned climate foreign policy. But there's also, for instance, a format called Climate Club. It was launched at the COP28. It's a leading high ambition intergovernmental forum for exchange on accelerating climate action and industry decarbonization. It has currently 38 members and is co-chaired by Chile and Germany. We have, of course, the multilateral fora like G7, G20, G77, cooperation with multilateral development banks. We, of course, have to strengthen UNFCCC, CBD, that's the UN Convention on Biodiversity, and UNEP. And this is also very important, having joint research initiatives and share innovation and data, because this can accelerate technological advancements and also reduce costs. Important is as well engaging non-state actors like cities, regions, NGOs, and all sectors of society, because they always have a different perspective and we have to include their knowledge and capacities, especially in terms of cities and regions, because mostly climate action is happening there on the ground. And then of course using global events, campaigns to raise more awareness, and also having cultural and educational exchange.
Excellent. Mr. Mezghani, what are the critical foundations to make cities' transport system sustainable?
Yeah. I think one important aspect or dimension is the political leadership, is the having political champions that will lead this process of sustainability, making sure there is a continuity of the effort, that we don't change the policy after 2 years, that we we project ourselves long term, and we start implementing step by step the policy, and we don't question, the policy after 2 years or 3 years. And I would like to really mention the state of Qatar, because when I see the transport policy in Qatar, it is really reflecting this continuity of the effort. I mean, His Excellency Minister of Transport has been in office in that position since 2013 or 2014. And we see that the vision he had at that time, and the state of Qatar had at that time has been implemented, and this is important. When we look to Dubai, the Roads and Transport Authority, also His Excellency Matar Tayer, he was there since 2005. And that's the secret, it's a continuity over time of what we decide, and the implementation of what is decided. And also the integration of the different modes, that we don't focus only on public transport, or only on cars, or only on bike, or anywhere else, or taxis, etc. But there is an integrated approach to mobility with all modes. And then the last aspect is about how to finance this sustainability, because you need resources. And I think there are two aspects which are important. First, you need to apply the principle of the polluter pays principle. I mean, those who create the nuisance, they have to pay for it. If cars create traffic, they have to pay for parking, they have to pay for congestion charging, for example, like in London or in New York now, it will start soon. So they have to pay the nuisances they create. If they pollute, they have to pay for the pollution they create. And the second principle is the beneficiary pays principle. It means those who benefit from all the investment, they have to pay. If a real estate developer benefit from a public transport system because the value of the state of his land will increase, they have to pay for that public transport system which is serving that land or that area where the development is taking place. So it's important. We cannot make only the users pay, but also those who benefit from it pays. So leadership and continuity of the effort and having a sustainable financing system is very important.
Thank you. And we'll close off the questions with Mohammed once again. Now, localising it again to Qatar, what do you see as the most important policy levers to enable sustainable mobility?
So I will, my answer will be brief, but I will go over most of the things that my colleagues mentioned. So when it comes to political leadership, when it comes to climate change and sustainability and moving towards a green future, we see that His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani has been attending the UNFCCC COP. So he was there in Dubai. He was also there in Glasgow when it was hosted in Marrakesh, when it was hosted in Paris as well, and many more. So the Climate Change Convention, it's the only UN environmental treaty that has country leaders attending almost yearly to show their commitment towards combating climate change. And we were the Ministry of Environment, and in 2021, the ministry changed its name to the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change to highlight the important part that climate change plays in our society today. One of the other important policy levers that could affect EV and autonomous vehicles as well is funding for research and innovation. So Qatar is very interested in research and innovation, and it's very important because, as my colleague just said, that the heat does affect electrical vehicles, and from what we found, it also affects solar panels. Dust also affects solar panels in Qatar. So we need to create technologies or study ways of using those technologies that fit our national circumstances, because we have a very unique environment. We have a very vulnerable ecosystem that we have to preserve, and it's very important for us that whatever innovation we aim to adopt would be fit for our environment, instead of just buying solar panels and installing them, because then we are not really doing anything. Another thing is for the finance aspect of it. So we are currently studying a way to implement a carbon market in Qatar, which would allow people who would save the carbon, lower their carbon emissions, would earn carbon credits, and they would be able to use them in this market to make money. There's, as an incentive for them to become more efficient. It wouldn't just cover the big companies; it would cover different sectors. So we're currently studying the building sector, but I'm sure we will expand it further to transportation, to other sectors.
Okay. Thank you very much for that comprehensive answer.